Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where people come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Jason.
Hello, everyone. And
this week, we have Miranda in the studio in place of Stoney still, because he's a little...
Mrs. Stoney. How's that?
There you go. Okay. So how's the young whippersnapper doing? How's he?
It has been a challenge. We actually got him home last night.
Oh, nice.
So he is at home. He was very happy to have a shower and to sleep in his own bed.
Oh, I bet.
And to eat real food. But he's got a long haul ahead of him, and in the upcoming weeks we'll be doing additional testing to see, what sort of long-term ramifications are going to come from this. But he's a fighter. He's a scrappy guy.
Of course.
So
for anybody that's been a fan of the show for at least a year now, wasn't it about give or take this time last year he was having his
11 months to the day of his brain surgery?
Yeah.
Is when this incident happened.
I so badly. I want to wait for him to get better though, but so badly I wanted to be like, okay, so like if this is going to be like a yearly thing where you like trying to hurt your head somehow, I don't think I can really.
I told him he's gone to extreme measures, not to have a honeymoon.
Right.
That is yes. That is.
I just felt I obviously I love the guy, but I do want to poke fun a little bit and be like, okay, so I see how it is. But I know that this was an accident, whereas before that was obviously like a different situation entirety. But
neither was his fault. So
right, of course.
Just,
I know it's all coincidental, but I definitely thought it was funny.
Just a horrible thing. I'm still getting my digs in on him. He asked me for socks today, so I brought him some really fluffy ones. He's like, "You're kidding me, right? I'm not wearing those."
Right. I think a lot of times. Obviously, you can't apply this to every circumstance like this, but I think being able to add, especially because he's doing well, or at least from what you've told me, he's doing better, to add some brevity to make a person in his circumstance smile.
Well, I'm one of those people that just makes inappropriate jokes at inappropriate times. So
right,
it's how I deal with stress.
Of course, but yeah, I think it's nice because I know that's what I would like if it's something that I'm going through. I would like for everyone to at least try and make me smile at least a little bit. So
they say laughter is the best medicine.
Yeah.
Right.
So I hope so.
I'm glad he's home, and
yes, same.
I know he's happy to be at the
he's
house.
Curled up with the dogs.
Yes, the puppies are loving on him right now. So
well, that's good. I'm glad. I definitely have. As the information has come out and has been on Facebook, and people obviously in our circles know of us, I've gotten more than a handful of so what happened to Stoney? And I was like, I was asking the same thing about a week ago. So just know that I know there's people out there that have also been hoping that he's well and giving their well wishes to me.
He's got a long haul ahead.
Right.
But, I want to give some kudos to Jason because he came at least once a day to the hospital the entire 11 days that we were in the ICU.
Wow.
And, that really meant a lot to Stoney.
I bet. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was really worried about him when that whole event happened. It was just crazy how the slightest thing could change someone's life like that. I mean, he did not ask for this. And he went through a lot. So him being at home is huge. It really is.
Yeah.
Considering it could have been much worse.
Oh, of course.
And he still might have surgeries ahead of him. We're in that we don't know stage.
Right.
But, as the weeks unfold, we'll learn a lot more.
So our listeners out there, just be patient with us as we kind of muddle through this.
And keep sending your prayers for him because he appreciates them.
So, we'll get through it.
We had a whole plan. And so it is kind of sad to see us have to postpone a lot of those things because there was a couple of shows that I was really excited for. But
right.
That's okay. We'll wait for him to get there.
We'll get there. There are more shows ahead of us.
Oh, right. Well, speaking of shows ahead of us, what do we have on the dock for today?
I think the episode, we were going to talk about brands and why people choose to do business with certain businesses and or buy certain brands.
We were talking the other day about all of this hoopla over Target and people boycotting Target right now because of their transgender kids line of clothing on the heels of the allowing men in the women's bathrooms. And there's an expression that's being thrown around the media, go woke and go broke. And since this is a generational show, if you break down the generations, there are some that are very, very likely to boycott businesses because of their social stance or their political stance on different topics. So we thought it would be an interesting take to see our generational perspectives on all of that today, because it's all over. And it's not that boycotts are new, but I think in this post-pandemic arena, people are much more likely to be confident or just to say, you know what, I'm not giving them my business anymore. Whereas before, 20 years ago, you didn't really know what the CEO of McDonald's was doing. And now, if the CEO of McDonald's gives money to Donald Trump, you're like, well, I'm never going to McDonald's again. And I think people are much more apt to be offended on what other companies do.
Can I don't mean to take us off on a rabbit trail right off the get-go, but could you indulge me just for a little bit about a conversation I had with Mallory yesterday?
Perfect.
Mallory and I were driving, and we just recently went to a concert for a music artist that I've been a big fan of since I was in my early teenage years. And it's actually, we talked about it on the 5 people that you would like to have dinner with. One of them was the musical artist that I was talking about. I got to see them in concert again, and it was a wonderful show. And Mallory, her being younger than I am, doesn't quite understand. The way she phrased it was, I don't quite understand, I don't get famous people, quote unquote, because she's like, they're just people. And the more we kind of were like, the more the conversation expanded and we were talking more about it, the more I realized that she was coming from a perspective of she's always had social media, or social media was a part of her life, whereas I came from just a few years prior to that, where there wasn't a lot of social media.
Or it was in its infancy.
You're right. So for me to be able to interact with this music artist, it was a barrier of entry. I could buy their CD, I could maybe write them a letter, buy their merchandise or whatever, but I could never really see that artist just in their day-to-day life. Or if I did, it was very rarely, and I may have saw it on TV or something. That was my childhood. Whereas for instance, Mallory, she was a lot of her favorite music artists, they're just live streaming their living room, and it's you get to just see them in their day-to-day life. And it was crazy to the different perspective of it all. The more we were talking about it, the more I was I think that may be where we differ in this situation, is you have had the opportunity to see all your favorite artists and all these famous actors and people that normal people would probably look up to and go oh my gosh, I wish that I was that famous or whatever. Whereas people maybe in your generation would look at it and go, they're just people.
Well, it doesn't convey when you're chipping out things on a cave wall, when you're chiseling out
right,
hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
So.
You're right, yeah. And so for me, like I said,
wow,
there was a time for me where some of the music artists, whenever I was in my teenage years, it did feel almost unachievable. They didn't feel like they were regular people. They felt like they were just this larger than life rock star that I was oh, so crazy and so.
And they're
cool.
just people
they're just people, just like you and I.
Everybody puts their pants on one
right.
leg at a time.
Yeah.
And I learned that not through social media, but being in the industry a little bit, being a musician myself, and also surrounding myself with the kind of stuff that happens. Where I was oh yeah, well, we're all just people. So I learned that way, whereas for her it was social media. But we were talking about this, the same sort of thing. Once upon a time, what does McDonald's, the corporation, think about such and such? Like, I don't really care. I just
Nobody
want a cheeseburger.
cared. Yeah.
But now it's like it feels so public. Like one tweet or Instagram post away from like,
well,
we
you
know.
look at just, and I'm sure Jason has some numbers.
Oh yeah, somewhere.
But it's
I've got an overload of
Yes.
stuff.
I was
So-
reading that right now, 1/4 of Americans are currently boycotting a product or a company that they previously spent money on. Because, and the people that did the polling, they made that distinction because you can say, well, I'm never going to Target again. But if you never shopped at Target to begin with, it's, no harm, no foul. It doesn't really mean anything to anybody. But if you were a consumer, like look at what happened with Budweiser this year. I think
Yep,
That's
that's
a
right.
big
That's a
one.
biggie.
Budweiser, I wrote it down here. Let me find it real quick. Budweiser was down because of the whole Dylan Mulvaney partnership.
Yeah.
They lost $27 billion.
Billion?
Billion.
Jeez.
So,
Golly.
but if you're not a beer drinker and you say, well, I'm never getting a Bud Light, who cares?
Right.
But, a
Because
lot of people
I would be in that camp.
in that same time period that Bud Light dropped, the parent company dropped $27 billion.
Right.
Coors / Molson, they
Right.
increased by 24% in their stock and what their prices were.
Right.
So people they spoke with their pocketbook,
Yeah.
and I think that people are much more apt to do that now. And I think it's part of this whole post-pandemic. Everyone gets offended so easily. Everyone wants everyone to have the only opinion that they're allowed to have is the one that they have. And it's a shame that all these social things are kind of being forced down your throat.
Well,
Because it should be, if you want to buy a certain brand of milk or a certain kind of cheese or, you shouldn't have to have a social agenda foisted on you in order to go and get stuff that you would just normally buy.
Right.
yeah. Well, I'm looking at. I downloaded this pretty extensive report. It's fairly thick and it has a lot of information, a lot of charts. But they did kind of break it down, and I found some pretty interesting things about shopping habits per generation. Gen Z, which makes up the ages of 18 to 24. Very heavy into social media, YouTube ads, internet search are the top ways Gen Z discovers new products.
Oh, yeah.
Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok are the top social media apps among Gen Z. 33% of Gen Z have bought a product based on an influencer's recommendation in the past 3 months. And 28% have bought through an in-app shop. 1 in 2 Gen Zers want companies to take a stance on social issues, specifically
Why?
racial justice, LGBTQ+ rights, gender inequality, and climate change. When companies advocate for these issues, it has a strong impact on Gen Z purchase decisions.
Really?
Ads on streaming services beat cable TV for reaching Gen Z.
Oh, I can
Retail
guarantee
discovery
that.
is still relevant, but less frequent than digital channels. And then it goes into millennials overview. These are ages 25 to 35. Social media, internet search, YouTube ads are also the top ways millennials discover new products. Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram are the top social media apps among millennials. 28% of millennials have bought a product through an in-app shop in the past 3 months, and 26% have bought based on an influencer's recommendation, so a little bit lower.
Right.
41% of millennials want companies to take a stance on social issues on everything I just mentioned
Right.
earlier.
Right.
And ads on cable TV beat streaming services for reaching millennials
Really? Who watches cable television?
by a small margin.
Okay.
Retail discovery is still relevant but less frequent than digital channels. Now, on to my generation, Gen X, ages 35 to 54. Gen X prefers to discover new products through search, television ads, and retail stores. Gen X discovers new products on social media more frequently than any other channel, even though it isn't preferred. 90% of Gen X use social media.
Wow.
Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram are their favorite apps. 18% of Gen X have bought a product through an in-app shop in the past 3 months. The same number bought based on the influencer's recommendation of that period. So it's a little, it's dropping as we go. 35% of Gen Xers say companies should take a stance on social issues. So as you can see, those numbers get a little bit smaller. And then on to the last but not least.
Sorry, last but not least.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, it cut it off.
Uh-oh.
I don't have it unless I go into the in-depth research. But let me, I can maybe get that. But
if it keeps the same trend, it probably is going to go.
If I remember when I was looking at this online, I think when it came to that part about taking a stance on social issues,
yeah,
I think boomers were like below 10%.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would believe that.
Yeah. It's below.
And I'm surprised that Gen X, because I'm a Gen Xer as well.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that it's as high as what you just reported, because most of us that I talk to.
Well, once again with stats,
right.
you know who's
well, and also, I mean, if you think about it, even in my generation, being 41%. Like that's still the majority would still be against, I mean, obviously we're getting close to that halfway mark, but even like for your generation, like you're talking about, it being 30-something%, that's still,
I mean,
70 is still a pretty high margin for people that wouldn't be for it.
Well, I looked up some statistics of the people most likely to boycott. And what was interesting was the number one group that would boycott businesses are actually 6-figure income earners.
Really? Unbelievable.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That was 37% of them will boycott the businesses routinely. Next was Gen Z at 32%. Then Democrats at 31%.
Oh, wow.
Then millennials at 28%, and Republicans rounded out the list at 24%. But what I think we've seen in the media is a shift in the past few years, whereas before, and especially, when Trump was in office, there was lots of websites that, if a company tended to support Trump or gave money to Republican causes, there was a lot of Democratic websites that would say, okay, boycott these businesses. And, and a lot of it was centered around Trump. Now, this is kind of the first time that the Republicans have kind of come out and said, we're done with the wokeness. We don't want it down our throats. And we've seen this kind of, the tide has shifted. And it's very interesting to watch this play out, no matter kind of where you fall in the political spectrum, because this is not how it was 20 years ago.
Oh, no.
It wasn't.
I
never
even
recall
remember that.
ever seeing what I saw took place in the last few years with them actually going after stores, that either gave money or whatever the case may be. I mean, I know in the, who showed up at the January 6th rally, you saw all that, just people who were just there that didn't take part in what happened at the Capitol, but just were there for the rally. They were getting lumped in and attacked with these other people. And it's like, when did we get to a point where political rallies now are, causes people to lash back? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I got this other report here. It said, nearly 2/3 of consumers want companies to take a stand on social issues, according to the 2018 Edelman Earned Brand Report. The report, titled Brands Take a Stand, found that 64% of customers worldwide are belief-driven buyers.
Really?
This is up from last year when Edelman found that 51% of customers were belief-driven buyers. And belief-driven buyers are composed of 30% leaders or those who have strongly held, passionate beliefs and believe that brands they buy are one way to express those beliefs.
Really?
And 34% joiners or people who will change their buying behavior based on a brand stand.
Well,
So
think about it. In the 60s, you saw people doing marches and rallies, and that's how they express their political dissidence or what their opinions were.
Right.
And now people boycott. You know, it's like it's really. And just in the past couple years, we've had a Disney boycott, we've had Florida boycotts, Target, Walmart, Kohl's, Coca-Cola, Bud Light, North Face, American Airlines, and Levi's have all been multi-million-dollar, if not billion-dollar boycotts that have been common and popular in the United States. And that's just scratching the surface.
Yeah. For me, whenever you guys have brought up this topic, the only thing that I've really thought about was like in my life, I have tried to, and I'm not perfect, and I'm not going to say I've been super good about this, but like I have like specifically bought items that have less plastic, like that have been more like cardboard forward or like things that I know could be recycled or won't end up in the ocean.
So you've had an environmental drive to buy
Right,
things based on the environmental impact.
Because so that's I'm just thinking about for myself. Like there's like some mouthwash or whatever that's like a concentrate that you just like put a little bit of water in and you use but it's like you can have one bottle that is also recyclable.
But that's, that's a legitimate
And so
reason.
I shop and I buy products that I feel like that are responsible as far as when it comes to environmental issues.
Right. But the point that I'm saying is like that's the only thing for me that I have bought product A for years and years because I like it, but then have decided let me go ahead and make a conscious decision to do something probably better for the environment. But that's about the only thing that I've had like a strong pull towards where I'm like, okay, you're making an environmental difference, then I will try and help your cause along because I do think that is something that we all need to be more aware of in some way. But never have I been. But this also may be because of just who I am and what I believe, and I don't have a strong social pull towards something. But like I've never been like, oh, you support like this group of people or this like thing like that, and that has like swayed me to buy their product more. Usually it's all about what the product is and is it effective or do I like it, and obviously that environmental factor that I've thought about. That's why you're reading these statistics and I'm like, that's crazy to think that like 2/3 of people are like, oh, if you claim, I'm gonna go ahead and say claim because I don't think that they all support what they say they support. Claim that you support this like certain party or this certain group of people that you're just like so influenced to buy their thing.
There's a lot of people in our circle that won't go to Starbucks because Starbucks has done some very anti-law enforcement things over the past few years, and they're like, we'll go to CC's, we'll go to PJ's, we're not giving Starbucks our money.
Right.
And so but I do think that there's definitely a generational bend to that.
It makes me feel older than I am the
environmental aspect, that's a legitimate concern.
Right.
I think that, for me as a Gen X consumer, I don't want to have to face politics when I go into my grocery store.
Right.
I don't really like, to me, it's if the CEO of a company wants to give money to something, that's their right. Because it's usually not corporate money that's going, and it might be. And if it's a privately held company, do whatever you want. Right. But it's really not my business. So it's like I don't see these justice warriors making all these websites, telling, because there's hundreds of websites that are telling you to avoid certain companies just because they don't like, something that they've, a social cause or a political cause that they're involved in. I'm like, is it anybody's business? But I think that's our generation's perspective versus, these younger ones that want everyone just to think like them. And if you have a varying opinion,
right. I think it's
shame
also,
on you.
I think it also has to do with control. And it's just the fact that like in a corporate world, in a world where the normal people, quote unquote, that like the way that their power is their money in that regard. So it's like I may not be able to shut down Walmart, but I can choose not to shop there because they don't support my belief system, and that's
It's not so much that they're can get very organized, and that's to me what is I found astounding of how quickly social media now has made the ability to organize large blocks of people to accomplish certain goals. And some people, they've mastered this. They really have, and it's incredible, really. I mean, just kind of following up. I want to kind of finish what I was saying earlier. But 36% of consumers they consider spectators. These are the people that just go by and can care less, just like you said, Miranda. They don't care what the company is. They're just going to go buy what they need to get on with their life, and that's it. So, but about 59% of the U.S. consumers are belief-based buyers. And believe it or not, we're lower than a lot of major countries throughout the world. Crazy. China is 78%.
Well, they'll tell you what to buy and you'll like it.
Brazil, 69%, India, 68%, and France at 65%. So this is really a global thing that people now are identifying. It's almost the product becomes an extension of themselves.
But, all those countries are very leftist.
They are.
For me, the only thing, thinking about this more and having this conversation like this, I've realized that I will gravitate towards like name brand items because a lot of times like the quality is better, and I'm not super concerned about like pinching pennies when it comes to like dish soap or fabric softener, So that's again, just thinking about what I'm as we're talking about this, I'm trying to like analyze what I would do in a store, and more often than not, I usually will grab name brand items because I know like the quality is probably going to be better.
I do. They're brands that I buy.
Now, now if they were
if you found out Shake and Bake was killing kittens, you might not be buying Shake and Bake anymore.
Maybe you're right, but then at the same time, it's like I think that's for me at least. If this item is doing those sort of things behind closed doors and I don't know about it, I'm not going to say it's okay, but I like that. I think that's the difference between like. I would probably just. It feels wrong to say it, but like I would probably just buy the item. But like the hard part for me is like if the product there on the shelf is then displaying harming kittens or whatever it may be, then it's like it feels more like
it makes it real for you.
And then it feels like now I'm supporting it.
So do you favor products that say don't test on animals? Do you make a point to not buy those products?
Not really. I mean,
I do.
Right.
I do look to see if. I know I can't everything.
Right. You're right.
But I do take a look at that.
I came from the dietary supplement manufacturing world, and one of the things that I learned when I was there is that a lot of those little insignias and logos on packaging is all pay to play. So it really doesn't, it's like, because most companies aren't doing their own research anyway.
Right.
But they're not going to go and pay a third-party organization to stick the logo on because it raises the cost per bottle 50 cents.
Yep.
So, it's one of those things. Does it really, it's like, when you see the little Better Business Bureau insignia, right. The Better Business Bureau is kind of an extortion racket. It doesn't really do anything. It doesn't really mean anything. People pay for a membership so they can say they have a BBB rating, but the BBB doesn't really do anything. So, I think
so it doesn't really regulate anything?
Not real. It doesn't, they have no teeth. So it's like they can send you a letter saying, Jane Smith really did not like how she was treated at your organization on June 1st, but there is no teeth behind it. There's nothing that they can do other than voice their displeasure. And if you don't pay for a membership, you're much more likely to have a bad rating on the BBB because when you're a card carrying member of the BBB, you're just. To me, it's just a lot of those things are a little. So I don't even look at a lot of those things because I just know that most companies aren't doing animal testing because the ingredients have already been tested. So you don't need to
keep
you don't need to keep doing it if you're using certain ingredients, and most people aren't doing innovative things.
Or I like brands that say a portion of the profits go to like protecting elephants.
Right.
I do look at that. I buy stuff right now that I know my bath soap I buy.
But see, I get that. But what irritates me is when you're in the checkout and they want you to donate to some organization that they have.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to donate, $8 to, to the Ukraine today?
Right.
And I'm like, no, I don't. Those companies collect all that money and they give it as a huge, tax break for themselves. So it's like, if you really want to give money to an organization, give it yourself. Claim it on your own income taxes. Don't claim it on your income taxes. But don't let a big company do it.
I've said that for a long time. I was like, this feels wrong, but like I have places that I know that I can give. I have charities that I know that I can give to directly. I have religious organizations that I give to that I know good and well where the money's going. Whereas like I've looked at statistics for like where quote unquote charity funds for these big businesses go, and a lot of it just goes to like padding salaries, and I'm like, that I can't do that. And see, that's something that again I can understand people that may not know that and would try and give to a cause like that.
Now, I posted this question. I've got the Facebook group with the 9,000 to 10,000 ladies in there, and I posted this question to them earlier in the week so I could get some feedback and some information. And there was a pretty good mix of people that had a political or a social reason why they would boycott something. And there was definitely a split in the group, like ladies that were pro Target and pro supporting LGBTQ rights, and other ones were like, just quit shoving it in my face, like do what you want to do behind closed doors, do what you want to do at home. Just I don't think we need tuckable clothing and bathing suits for kids. So that was interesting. But there was another group that we haven't talked about yet today, and that's that people that have had a bad experience with the brand. Because I've got a couple. I will never ever buy a Samsung appliance because of my experience with it. I will never buy another Nissan car because I had such a horrendous experience with their customer service.
Interesting.
Yep. And and
I've had a couple of those kind of moments.
Where you've written off a brand because of your.
Right.
What about cars? Is there a particular brand you've had either?
It feels bad to talk about, but like I have at one point in time owned some sort of like European vehicle, and it would constantly had flaws that needed to be fixed, and they were like not super expensive, but not super cheap either, and they just kind of kept stacking up to where I'm like, this car is actually costing me more money to like own and operate than it did to just buy the car used. And I was like, I just can't justify keeping that around. It was a nice car, loved it, but I was like, Well, that's why I more often than not like Hondas and Toyotas, like those are the two vehicle brands that I've used, like because they just.
I have had most of the major car brands.
Right.
I think I haven't had an Audi, but I've had most anything else.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of afraid of Audis because of how they burn oil, but that's a whole other story.
Right.
But my experience, I bought several years ago. I want to say less than 10 years ago. I bought a certified pre-owned Nissan Pathfinder, platinum, top of the line. It had TVs and every headrest in the whole car. Yeah. Everything was it was just like loaded up to the max.
Right.
And I think as a certified pre-owned, it had just under 20,000 miles.
Not bad.
So it came with a regular factory warranty. It had a certified pre-owned warranty. And because I'm funny about things like that, I bought the third-party aftermarket warranty.
Right.
So I had 3 warranties on the car. By the time it hit about 22,000 miles, all the tires had melted off.
Jeez.
Had
And
melted
then
off.
Had melted off. I had to replace 4 tires that were perfectly fine at 18,000 miles because they have to be really good condition to sell them as a CPO.
Yeah.
But the whole transmission froze, which is apparently a really big problem with Nissans. And it just died because all the lines and the coolant go through a certain thing in the transmission. And so it died, and I took it to Nissan. I was like, okay, I'm thinking I'm golden because I've got 3 warranties. Well, they hummed and hawed and didn't know which warranty they were going to use. So they let it sit there, and then they waited for parts, and they were like, well, we don't want to fix it yet because we haven't decided which warranty you're. And I'm like, pick one. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know? And you only
Which one's the one that's going to get it done?
you only get a few days of a car rental. And so I blasted through that, and they're charging me $22 a day for a car rental. And so they had no incentive to fix my car.
Right.
It took me 3.5 weeks of squawking. They finally put in the same parts that had broken, just a different version of, but the exact same thing. And they were like, well, it's a problem with our cars, and we're not going to fix it if it happens again because we only warranty things once. And so by the time I got it back from the dealership, I drove it down the street to the Chevrolet dealership, and I traded it in on Tahoe.
There you go.
I was just like, I'm never going through this again because it was just like hours on the phone, everyone passing the buck, and I'm like thinking, you spend that kind of money on a top of the line car, you expect to get more than 3,000 miles out of it.
You're right.
Well, I have a Hyundai right now that has been very, very dependable, and I'll probably end up buying another Hyundai.
That I felt very similar about. Now again, this is older models. I haven't had anything modern, but like I've had an older model Toyota Corolla and an older Honda CR-V, and both I kept like topped up on gas, fresh oil, and I put tires on it whenever it needed or whatever. And I'm not kidding you, those things never died.
Yeah.
But it was also like a 94 Toyota and a 2001 Honda. So I mean, I can't speak for anything, modern, but that Honda CR-V, I literally called it Old Faithful because I brought it through the ringer. It went everywhere with me, and it was I drove that car the longest. I think I had it for 5 years. And
another one I like to look at when it comes to preferences is brands is Walmart versus Target. Why do some people like Walmart, some people like Target? Do you feel like Target offers...
Because one lets you shop in your slippers.
Okay. I see what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Right.
Walmart, you think of these, Walmart and Target. I'm thinking of Lowe's and Home Depot.
Right. They're just the same thing, but a little different.
Sam's and Costco.
Yeah.
They all go after the same group, but I think the demographics are slightly tweaked, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Be very interested to see if there were any stats on that.
I'm sure there is, because I know, like with the Lowe's and the Home Depot, contractors tend to use Home Depot more than Lowe's because
Yeah,
a lot of the sizing on packaging and things is more contractor friendly over at Home Depot than it is at Lowe's. Is meant more for the DIYer, and Home Depot
fixer,
is is a little bit more industrial, a little bit more commercial. They do have better selection. I tend to shop at Lowe's because it's convenient and I know where everything is in the store and it's clean and you can, now it's hard to get someone to help you for checkout, but before it was always easy.
Or do you shun both of those places and tend to go to hardware stores?
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm cheap, so I go where it's the cheapest.
Sometimes, I think it also, for me at least, the only reason why I would choose Target over Walmart sometimes is the atmosphere.
Or if you're wearing pajama pants.
I'm sorry, but I will never leave the house in public without.
Hey, you've been to our Walmart, haven't you?
I have, but I'm just saying for me personally, I always have pants on. For me, it's jeans, usually black denim jeans. That's my staple, but I will always make sure I have pants on when I go to the store. But what I'm saying is I have more often than not been to a Walmart, and that is the vibe. Mm-hmm. It is very much I'm just here. I'm a little nappy. I'm a little bit whatever, and I'm gonna get what I want. And it's a little bit dirtier. And it could just be our local area. I very well could understand that. But I think it's also when I've gone to Walmart, the employees are just kind of like,
I found that the employees at Target, or Target, as I like to call it,
yeah.
they tend to seem like they care about their job a little bit more.
Right.
Whereas I think Walmart is just like...
I've had nothing but disasters at Walmart.
yeah.
I just refuse to go to Walmart.
There was
don't.
The prime example the culmination of what I'm talking about is Mallory and I went to Walmart. We went to Target first to go get groceries and stuff. Well, they didn't quite have the certain items that we were looking for like a certain dish we were making. And on the way home, we have to pass by a Walmart to get home. And I was like, well, Walmart's still open. You can sit out in the car or we can both go in real quick and get something or get the one or two items we were missing for this dish for dinner we want to make. So we went to Target and it was like this. It was like kind of towards closing time. It was in the evening and it was quiet and it was calm and like everything was like pretty like put together, or at least it felt clean or whatever. we got our stuff, and I think this is the because it was this was the scenario that cemented it in my head because it was like two polar ends of the spectrum is what I'm trying to get at. We went to Walmart and they were like stocking the area for like the afternoon crew, and there was just like a family of screaming kids. There was like these people with those pallet dollies that are just like, and they're just like, they're smashing stuff. Like they're like, there's some guy who's like cleaning out like an area, and they're just like we walk in there, and I kid you not, we're both like, this is overstimulating. There's like just noises and people screaming and stuff everywhere, and I was like, this feels like Walmart. It's just like it's a little haphazard, and there's just chaos everywhere.
Speaking about Walmart, you brought something to mind.
Yeah.
One thing I do boycott is self-checkouts. I will always go to a person 100% of the time.
Really?
Because I want to keep people their jobs, so I boycott self-checkouts.
Well, I'm going to tell you, as time goes on, I think the day of the cashier is going to be coming to an end. I know we kind of touched on this in the AI episode.
Yeah.
I mean, fast food, everything is going to just now robots that are doing this. So I think more and more, I could see maybe keeping one or two lanes open for an actual body there, because I think there's some items you need to have an actual cashier's there. But a lot of routine, mundane stuff, I just go to self-checkout.
There is a gas station. Now, I think we've called out enough brands, so I won't call it, but I think you'll know if you've gone. There's a certain gas station that has like this little fixture now at one of the cash registers that like you set your items on and it scans them, and then it will like quote unquote ring them up by like, I guess, taking a picture of them or whatever, or scanning them or whatever. So like, it's like this little platform. You put your items there, and it has like these little cameras around this area that is like looking down on the items. And then like on this little pad to the right, it like the items will show up, and then you're supposed to like pay for it there. And I kid you not, the reason why I've had a struggle with this is because it's next door to the gym that I go to. So I usually will like get a bottle of water or a protein shake or whatever, like when I'm on my way either to or from the gym. Or get gas, whatever. No, I kid you not. The 3 times that I've gone in there, it has always rung it up incorrectly, and the person has, and I've like almost paid because they gotta just set the items down. There's like 3 entries, and I'm not really worried about what it thinks it is. And I go to pay, and they're like, whoa, hold up, and they like keep like moving it around. They keep folding it over, and and it never.
I want to know what this place is.
It never works. And one time I got Mallory something and myself something, and Mallory's item, it wouldn't ring up correctly, and she had to pull it behind the counter and scan it, and then set it beside this whole fixture.
So it's not saving anybody any time or money.
I still had the lady had to go from what she was doing behind the counter to come help fix this scenario, and I was like, I just don't. Now again, this is probably infant technology where it's like it needs to probably get better, and this is probably the first iteration of it. Maybe one day it will become that great where I can just put the items there and it goes. But I was like, when I walked up to the counter, I was hoping to talk to her because she was there, and I was like, yeah, but she was like, no, you have to use the installation or whatever she called it.
I won't go to CVS anymore because they've got that little kind of
thing.
Little
thing.
self-checkout
yeah,
now?
And they're like, you don't even have the option to go to a person. I'm just like, yeah, I'm not getting paid by you. I'm not scanning groceries. Sorry.
I love it. Just feels so.
Scanning, I kind of doesn't bother me at all.
There was this concept that like Amazon had or something where they were going to have like a store where like to enter the store, like you scan your Amazon account or whatever, and then upon entry you could like fill up a basket full of items, and it like either scans the item, or whenever you walk out the store it scans all of it or something.
Well, Sam's Club is doing something like that now. If you put the Sam's Club app on your phone, I think you scan each item as you put it in your cart, and then you have to run. They've got 2 checkouts that have these lights shining from the ceiling on them, and you just kind of walk it under the thing. And I guess maybe it counts your items or something just to make sure there's nothing extra in your cart.
Right.
And you check out completely without ever having a receipt, or it just automatically bills your.
The idea of that was kind of cool. It was like you walk into a place, you just grab items and then walk out, because that feels a little more natural. Of like, if we're gonna have this whole like no cashier thing, I would rather something like that where I could just like go in there, grab what I want, and then leave. So and then it charges me, post exit, instead of like this, like you're talking about CVS. I feel like now it's like it almost feels like now I'm responsible for checking out, but it's
they
like,
could
but why?
afford a whole bunch of cashiers if they quit making the receipts 20 feet long.
Of course.
Yeah, that gets a little ridiculous. It's like the receipt keeps printing out, and it just goes on and on and on. It's like how much paper they're using on this thing.
Right.
So,
but anyways,
but I don't know. That doesn't. So really, I go when it comes to grocery shopping. I like to shop at Whole Foods.
Paycheck.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm going to tease you about that, Jason.
We got ourselves a bougie man over here.
I like.
You can get me an almond horn when you're there.
I like Whole Foods, and I like Albertsons.
I'll have your finest cucumber water, please.
Yes.
Yeah, cucumber water.
I do like Albertsons. I tend to shop the circular because a lot of the stuff is just seriously overpriced for what it is anywhere else.
It is higher than.
Like, I think the coffee the iced coffee that I get is almost $2 more a bottle at Albertsons than anywhere else in town.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm just like, I'll shop the circular because they, if you do that, you can save some money. But I do like their selection, and there's certain things that you can only get at Albertsons.
Right, and that's why some of these, what I call specialty stores, generally carry the brands that I buy.
Yeah.
And that's why I go to them. I won't find that at a Winn-Dixie or a...
Did you guys grow up with Target and Walmart? Because it's like those... I never got those until I moved to the United States.
You want me to show my age a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead, Ian.
There was a point in time where I remember regular Walmarts, and I remember Super Walmart or Walmart Supercenters.
Right.
And those were two very different things.
They were.
The local area that I had lived in only had a regular Walmart, and it just had it was like I guess now they call them neighborhood markets.
Right.
Is what they're called now, but it was like it just had like food and things like that. And then there was a point in time where the Walmart had shut down, and then it reopened as a Supercenter, and it was like a big deal. I remember it was a big thing. And I think the same thing for like Target and Super Target, but like I never was around. There was only one Target in the area, but I was raised going to Walmart.
Well, I mean, growing up, it was if you wanted food, you went to the grocery store. There were no Walmarts that had food in them, or Targets or any of that. It was you went to whatever the local grocery stores. If I remember, it's Kroger or. I think High Neighbor was another one that's local to here.
So how old were you when
Publix.
Target and Walmart came into play?
Well, that would had to have been probably in my latter teens, early 20s, I'm thinking. I'm guessing now. Now you got me thinking on that. When did actually Walmart...
Let's see.
Because... I remember Howard Brothers. I remember TG&Y, which were kind of the precursors to Kmart.
We had a Kmart.
Kmart. What about K&B?
But you see, now the funny thing about Kmart, people will look at Kmart and go, they don't think of Kmart and they're not thinking of quality. Even though Kmart sold some pretty good items, but the perception out there was Kmart was more in line with value.
Mhm.
In essence, you can get
It
things
was the Dollar
cheap.
Tree of the day.
Right.
Right.
Before Dollar General.
Yeah. Yeah, we had, well, growing up in small town Canada, we definitely didn't have a Walmart. We didn't have anything. We had 2 grocery stores. We had Loblaws and IGA. And that was it. Like this, we're talking small town Canada.
I lived in an area where in Canada where the Walmart was not the place to go. It was the real Canadian superstore.
But that is in the Loblaws chain, and it's not bad.
It was. I liked going there. I liked going there, and I loved the No Name brand, the yellow label with just the words on it.
Yeah, you don't like no name stuff here.
Yeah. Well, no, I know, but I thought I think the reason why I liked it more was from my my graphic design side and like my more creative
side. Yellow box.
I loved it. Was just so minimal. I've never seen like a company that was able to make something that was
everything is yellow, Jason. It's all yellow with black writing. And
Yeah.
so one
And
side of the package is French and one side is English. And
Right.
so you just, if you want to shop the no-name products, you
Right.
just kind of look on the shelf and you're like, okay, I want
And-
no-name
and
beans
no
or
matter-
no-name rice
Yeah,
or
no matter what it
no-name-
is, whether it's a can of soup, whether it's a bag
And it
of
actually
chips.
says no name and then rice.
Right,
or
right.
no name
or
beans.
more
like-
often than not, like it would just say like potato chips, and it was all like lowercase black font, super clean. And for me, I was like, it's so aesthetically pleasing to have like it wasn't so like flamboyant and like a bunch of different stuff. I was like, for me, I mean, I didn't buy it all the time, but I definitely looked at it and was like, look at how just cool it is. But anyways, that's me. But yeah, there's a couple.
We
different
did
places.
have a company that came into town, I think when I was little, called Zellers, which was pretty much like the Kmart's here.
Right.
That was the kind of the closest that we had. But it was junky. Like, you didn't want Kmart clothes because, if you
Kmart-
rubbed your legs against too
Right,
black,
yeah.
it might catch on fire with all the polyester or something.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Kmart was known for its value. It's not necessarily known for quality. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know.
There's no name. You can see
Yeah.
it's yellow and black. And that is in the same chain as, you'll notice it's all yellow with black.
Yeah.
That was a little Canadian offshoot
It
that
was.
came
Yeah,
down here.
I remember that when I came back, I was like, is that what that was? But anyways, it says that the first Sam Walton opened the first Walmart store in Rogers, Arizona.
No, Arkansas, I think.
Or it's Arkansas,
Yeah.
you're right. 1962.
Okay.
So they've been around for a long time.
I think 69 was when it
but-
became officially incorporated.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. But you didn't really see Walmarts the way you see them now.
Oh yeah.
There were other stores here that I recall that really kind of captured the market at that time, and whatever model Sam Walton implemented at the time, it just eventually, the thing about Walmart, what made Walmart successful is they would move these stores in these little small towns and drive out all the local businesses, which brings up another issue, So are these big box stores, are they really good for your community?
Probably not.
Probably not.
I just reminiscing on more Canadian stuff. I remember Shoppers Drug Mart was another one, like another big one. It was everywhere. I could go to a Shoppers Drug Mart whenever I wanted
Crappy
to.
Tire?
Yes. Oh yeah. Go to a Canada Tire anywhere.
And now guess what's now starting to take the place of, it's amazing how the cycle works, but now what's starting to happen is you're starting to see Amazon distribution centers.
Can I say I actually am kind of sad.
Do you like to shop online?
No, I really don't like shopping
why don't
online.
you like? That's
don't-
kind of unusual.
Yeah, I know, and I've said that before, and I've said this like in conversation with friends. I'm actually really sad that I can't like go to, or like that many of like the brick and mortar stores that I like going to are like kind of having to shut down. Like local businesses or other like bigger businesses. There's a really big bookstore I like to go to, and it's kind of falling in disrepair. And I know that they're not going to take care of it because there's no money in it. And it makes me sad because I'm like, I love going to a physical location to like get what I want to get. There are some bigger purchases that I am, like for instance, all this equipment here. I know some of it I could buy in the store, but a lot of times when it comes to like some of this stuff, I understand
in
that
order to get the selection and the price and the service,
I
you
get
have
that.
to go to,
and there's a company that I do really appreciate the service on, which is the same company I bought all this stuff at Sweetwater. They're a great company, and I do get behind their like online business. But more often than not, like it just depends on what I'm getting. I know myself well enough that I don't think I can ever shop online for groceries. I like going into a grocery store and selecting my own groceries.
Yep.
I like listening to music, listen to podcasts. It helps me like get out the house a little bit, helps me decompress.
I swear that the people that pick groceries go and pick the worst produce that they can to stick in because no one's going to buy it. It's like if you get them to pick it, you're getting ugly produce.
And I just know that I'm able-bodied enough, and like I said, I do enjoy like getting out the house and doing that. So I just feel like
I have friends that won't go in the grocery store. They only do, have it delivered, or they pull up and get it put in their trunk. Like they will not go in.
Right.
Whereas I won't do online ordering.
Yeah.
But like, before we got here, Jason and I were talking at the house, and we were talking about what's shifted is that, when we were kids, you ordered from catalogs. You got the Sears catalog. You got the J.C. Penney catalog. You got all these catalogs in the mail, Montgomery Ward and all these things.
Right.
And you picked stuff, and you had to go to an order counter, and you had to order it, and then you had to wait for it to come in.
My grandma used to give me like Christmas catalogs with toys in it and stuff, and I would circle what I wanted or whatever.
Oh, the catalog would come out in like August, and you would plan your Christmas. And now there's no one has patience because it's just like if you want something, you go on Amazon and you get it drop shipped, and it's at your house tomorrow.
Right. And
it's a completely different mindset from our generation to your generation to Gen Z and everything in between. It's really. It's going to be kind of scary this next 10, 15 years because I think we're going to see a trend of so many more small businesses getting put out of business. They
can't compete against that kind of volume.
Mm-mm.
The part that makes me leery towards like fully, I have bought certain select items on Amazon, but there are so, you can just like type in any kind of item, especially when it comes to like electronics or whatever. And it's like the same pictures, the same entries with like a long name of like all these buzzwords that I know is probably coming from some like overseas something or another. And I'm like, there's a lot of times where like I feel like I can't trust any of that.
Yeah.
And I can't trust the quality of any of it. And I would rather like go to a store, put my hands on something like right now, today.
Well, now with Amazon, you don't know if you're getting fakes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
As I feel like I don't want to spend money on this thing especially because I am the kind of person, like I said before, I will spend a couple extra dollars for name brand products a lot of times because I know the quality is going to be a little bit better. And I would rather spend a few extra dollars on whatever the item may be and it lasts longer than, of course, me just to try and skimp out on just buying the cheaper object. And then, of course, it breaks. My music mentor a long time ago told me when it comes to like technology, at least, or instruments, more often than not instruments, he said, buy it nice or buy it twice. Either it's going to be cheap enough and you don't like the quality of it and you're going to hate it and buy a newer one that you like better, that's better quality. Or you're going to buy the cheaper one and it's going to break on you whenever you need it most.
Have a Magnus and buy it thrice.
There you go. Or it's going to break on you. You need it most and you're going to be upset and then still go buy a second one for probably a higher quality. And he's like, it doesn't apply to everything. But he's like, in my life, that's what I've noticed. He's like, if you're going to go ahead and buy something...
I kind of anticipate we're going to see a little bit of a backlash against Amazon. I think it's coming.
I'm telling where I'm seeing a resurgence of is on the grocery store front. I'm telling you, is farmers markets.
Yeah.
You're right.
There are a lot of people now going to farmers markets, and they're popping up all over the place. So a lot of people...
Yeah.
I wish our area had a better one. And I will leave it at that. I have shopped at the ones in Dallas. I've shopped at the ones in Houston. I shopped at the ones in Louisville. And the ones here leave something to be, it's just, you got ladies making, Duncan Hines cake mix and selling it for $15 a loaf and, produce that I like to support the farmers. I like to support the people that are making the cheeses or smoking the meats or whatever. I don't want to go and buy prepackaged stuff
Right.
that's just that they're just reselling.
Right.
And it's
Oh, and that's what every time I open up Amazon, it feels like that. It feels like this is just another one of those items that they bought bulk that they're reselling at like a high premium. That's going to be just this awful product when I get it, and I'm like, I don't want to put my money towards that.
one of the things with Amazon, and this comes up in a lot of the small business groups that I've been, I've been members of, is that Amazon is amazing at tracking their analytics. They've got people that are tracking analytics all day long. And so let's say that you, Ian, you develop this men's shirt that just makes you look like you got abs.
Right.
You
name it.
You name it. It just looks amazing. And Amazon sees that Ian is selling a ton of these ab shirts. And so what they'll do is they will find out who's manufacturing it for you, and they will undercut you, and they'll make a deal to make their own version, because you'll notice that the Amazon has their own version of all sorts of different things. Yeah. And very
Amazon
quickly,
Basics.
the Amazon Basics line. So if you start doing well on Amazon, you're going to find that your business kind of gets taken away from you. You can't count on using another platform.
Right.
So it's, but 10 years ago, if I went on Amazon, I could type in whatever I wanted, and I knew it was going to probably be cheaper than in any store.
Right.
And now it's probably the same price or more expensive.
Right.
Books, I will give you, books are probably cheaper, because I can get I can get a book for 2/3 of the price of what Barnes & Noble will charge for it.
Right.
But as far as anything else, it's usually, because I'll just do a Google search and hit the shopping button, and I'll see what everybody's charging for it. Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, Amazon is not the best price anymore.
Interesting. And I believe it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is for me, is like I don't get any kind of like joy or satisfaction out of like buying things online. There has been few things that I've felt that way about, and I feel like I would have felt that way if I bought it in a store. But like there has been numerous times where I don't want to wait for shipping. I would rather have the item now, and I will just go to a store and go pick it up. Like my computer had a fault in it. The power supply. The power supply was probably 12 years old, so it was his time to go. It was shot. It blew. Sad to see it go, but I was like, okay, I got podcasts to do. I got work that needs to be done. I need to get this needs to be a priority, at least in some capacity. I could have bought it online and then waited for the shipping or whatever, but I was like, I know for a fact that I could run to my local Best Buy or the 2 in the capital area or whatever around and I could feasibly get something that I wanted. Went to one, and the guy was like, "We don't have that one, but the other one does though, and I can call them and they can have it ready for you." And I was like, "Thank you." 30-minute drive, and I had it.
And that's a store that I boycott.
That's what I'm saying. So for
and
me,
why do you boycott?
They just annoy me. Everything is expensive. They get like special. It's like Walmart, how they have special versions of different electronics made just for that store, so you can't price it elsewhere and get a better deal, or have them honor another store's pricing, because it will have a unique USP code. So I just always find that they're just weird in there. It's just everything is overpriced. They don't have a good selection. 20 years ago they had an amazing. You almost got overwhelmed when you went in there. It just rubs me the wrong way.
I wonder what happened.
I don't know.
It probably just got. I think it.
I do not grace them with my presence.
I think it also. I think it suffers from a lot of what's going on in the modern age too. Of like everything's moving online. So they don't. There's no incentive to have a full stocked store. You know what I'm saying? Like there is within reason.
I mean, there's
but
nothing.
Especially, may I say, whenever you can go onto the app and then specifically order an item and then pick up in store. Why have it in store when someone can pay a shipping fee to like have it put there, and then of course they'll just come by.
When you see a store like Best Buy right now, when you go into a Best Buy, it's very understocked. Right.
Yeah.
And which makes me think that the days are short for Best Buy, because I noticed that going into Bed Bath & Beyond. Yeah. They had all these little things pulled down. It's like you would see like 2 empty shelves and then stuff on a third, and then 2 empty shelves. And they've been doing that for a couple of years, where their stock just got less and less and less.
The only ones that I know of in our area have both had closing sales because they're gone out.
Well, all Bed Bath & Beyonds are.
Yeah, they're
bankrupt. But I think that when you see something like Best Buy, because remember when there used to be Circuit City, there were several companies that were competitors. there was competitors to Best Buy, and I think it's one of those companies that's had its day in the sun, and now it's easier to go on to Amazon or Dell Outlet or whatever you want to do.
But see, I worry about that because I still like to go to a store,
and so that's what I'm saying. So for me, I may not
when it comes to electronics. Now, I like to actually go to the store and talk to the salesman and feel it out and.
The end of the story is that the product. Now I may not. This may not apply to all the products like you're talking about, but the power supply that I was talking about was the same price if I would have bought it on Amazon or I would have bought it on like Newegg, which is like a computer PC parts website that I would get it from. I could have probably got it cheaper there, but then again, this is how
they had it ready and you could go get it.
Would I spend the extra probably $10 to $20 to
for
get
the
it
convenience.
to get it that day? Yeah. And so that's what I did. And the same sort of thing for this. Whenever our soundboard went out, I was able to order this on Guitar Center. This handheld recorder. Whenever the board was shot, I could have ordered something and then waited for shipping. But I was like, I would rather go to my local Guitar Center and then who probably has this in stock and then go pick it up there because I could have it. But I think that's how I often do things. I'm like, I would rather just go to the grocery store, pick up what I want, and then go home instead of trying to like sit here and go through all these hoops for like, is it really more convenient if I just like order it online and then have it shipped here because I have to wait for it?
But it sounds like you're the anomaly for your generation.
I feel like it sometimes. I'm like, I really don't like it. So I understand the use of it. I understand for certain expensive items, like I said, like this podcast equipment, for that bass guitar back there that was very expensive. No one had that in stock, and I'm like, I know for a fact I have to wait for that to like get quality tested, multiple seals of approval, and then shipped to my house. I get that, and I'm like, that's okay. It's very expensive, and I want it to be as pristine as it can be when it comes to my home. Unlike some things like that, where I'm like.
Round table, do you have? I'll ask you. Do you have stores that you boycott? Are you part of the 42% that boycotts a store?
No, I think I fall in that 33% of consumers that just buys what I need, unless. It just depends because there's some stores I just don't go to very often to begin with, so it's. Like the whole Target deal. I don't hardly go to Target ever, even before all this. So, it's not like there's no emotional attachment. But if it was, I'm trying to think of a store that, I'm kind of one of these, if I can't find it here, I'll go somewhere else. Yeah. But, no, I can't say there's anything that there's out there that I stay away from now. Like Starbucks. I don't really drink coffee from Starbucks, not because I've got any personal agenda against them, because occasionally I do stop and buy something from them. I actually get my coffee at a restaurant, La Madeleine's.
Okay. Yeah.
That's where I get my coffee from. So, no, there's not. I'm not one of these people that go out of my way. Or at least nothing has happened to me personally that would make me radically change my shopping behavior. To be honest with you, I just don't pay it that much mind.
Which falls into our generational thing as well, because we were less likely.
Right. I just remember the days of going to the store and shopping, going to Sears.
Oh yeah, I remember Sears.
That was a big deal.
Yeah, rest in peace.
I remember going to those places. I remember going to malls.
Right.
And that was a big thing. And you go see all the new stuff out there, and you touched it, you felt it, you interact with it.
I'm a little bit the same way. I'm sad that like the local big mall that we have, I think there's new stuff that's popped up in there. But like a lot of the stuff.
But malls are in general
they're a dying breed.
They're a dying breed. And it's because
it makes me sad because I'm like that.
Everything is going online,
and I hate that. I don't. Like
it just is. I would think as tech advances and we get even probably they kind of master virtual reality more and more.
Yeah,
I could see a point where you'll be able to interact with an item virtually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I've noticed that a lot of mine is not. I don't boycott stores because of like a stance or because of whatever. It's all the customer service based.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot.
You're
of
based on your experience.
Yeah, there's been a lot of times where like I've gone to a restaurant or like a local fast food chain, and the staff has just been like, for lack of a better term, just atrocious, like to handle or deal with. And I'm like, I'm paying for this food that already isn't probably great, and I'm also being treated like garbage. I know there's like one of these things I can rule out, and me being here is one of them. That's one thing for me. It like that's a big one. But as far as like when it comes to like boycotting a store, like I don't think I have anything like that per se. There's something else I was going to say about that, but I can't remember what I was going to say. I got lost in my train of thought.
Well, just real quick, a follow-up, because, what I mentioned earlier, I was kind of reading off some stats, and I got to the boomers. I didn't have that information. Talking about on social issues. But the biggest issue that boomers want to see companies advocating for the most are climate change, affordable health care, racial justice, and income inequality. So, but yeah, boomers are considered the polar opposite of Gen Z, which that would be expected. In the case of whether companies should take a stance on social issues, the two groups are completely at odds. While 1 in 2 Gen Zers think companies should engage for advocacy, about half of boomers say they shouldn't.
Wow.
So and that sounds about right. I mean, I'm a Gen Xer, but I'm an older Gen Xer,
right?
And I'm closer to the boomer years than maybe some younger Xers that might be closer to on the millennial side.
Right. I think I'm actually in the same ballpark. I think people wouldn't consider me a millennial. I'm actually
you probably identify more with
I
Gen Z.
I was born in the mid '90s, and that's like the tail end of millennials apparently. So I'm in that same part where like I'm in that weird zone of like I wouldn't consider myself Gen Z at all. But my youngest brother though, who was like almost born in 2000, he feels like a Gen Z kid. But like we're both like we're only a few years apart, so it's weird to say that, but.
We are. I mean, as tech advances, and as Gen Z gets older and older, it'll be very interesting to see how that starts to shape shopping and brands and how we do things. Because I don't think this whole boycotting stuff it's if anything, it's just going to get worse.
Oh yeah, so, I remember I got my train of thought back. It was all customer experience based. Whether it's like good or bad, customer experience is a place that I will like go back to pretty consistently. But a big one is you had mentioned coffee shops, and there is one local coffee shop in question, and also a brand that you talked about as well, CC's. Numerous ones that I've been to, the cleanliness standard that I have seen. At the local chain specifically, I have like talked to somebody and was like, I can help teach your people, because I have pretty extensive knowledge as far as like a barista stuff goes, and to see the way they were like not cleaning things, I'm like, that kind of is a health code violation. But like you're kind of a local business and can probably subvert certain things, but like I could really help like teach your people, and they're like, no, thank you. And I was like, cool. I probably will never be back here again, just to let you know, because it was like some of the things they were doing were like really not okay. And I was like I don't want to be the person to get you in trouble, but at the same time, like someone has to say something, and if it's going to be anybody, it's going to be me. So needless to say, that's another thing for me. It's like do I boycott them? No. Was it probably the baristas on staff? Maybe, but it's also happened a couple times where I'm like.
So there's no really no like political or social type things that you feel so strongly about that like, you know what, I'm not going to that store because that store gave money or attended a rally or whatever the case may be.
Not really.
Yeah, I'd rather not know. I don't think, we go to store, we patronize stores to buy the stuff we want and the stuff we need.
Right.
I don't care what they're if whatever they want to do, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want websites tell me, and I don't want political agendas shoved down my throat. I just want to go and buy a piece of chicken,
right.
or I just want to go and buy a swimsuit.
I don't want,
I don't think that these stores should be making sexualized things for kids. Let kids be kids.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And just quit with the agendas. Like just
sell your product.
Yeah, if you want to be a political organization, be a political organization, and then push your agenda out that way. Don't do it through the stores.
Right.
But I think with
I think what also kind of proves that point, though, is that apparently the numbers, the reason why they're doing that now is because the numbers are proving that. And that's one thing I never had thought about. Was I never was understanding why I guess more and more companies are moving towards doing that, and because they're trying to appeal towards a generation. It's like, we want you to stand up and say something, so that's incentivizing them to.
Well, when I was doing research for today's show, there was a man named Braden King, and he did research on 133 separate boycotts from 1990 to 2005, and of those 177 companies involved. 1/4 of them offered concessions to the protesters, which stopped the protests.
Whoa.
Now, I would imagine that that's much higher because we see how quickly Target pulled the trans kid clothing line, and we see how quickly Anheuser-Busch started backtracking. Mm-hmm. So I think that people now expect these companies to fold if they raise a stink.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before you only had a 25% chance of success. Now it's just like they don't quit until you stop.
Yeah. Well, because of social media. I mean, look, think back before really social media. That means you had to somehow reach people, get out there with picket signs or whatever the case may be. It was hard to really affect a company's bottom line in the old way of doing it.
Yes.
With social media now, you can reach thousands of people and they can have an immediate impact.
Overnight.
Yeah. And that's why you see in a lot of these companies, which I wish some of them would actually have a little bit of courage. When it comes to money, even the slightest.
I know that we all do some reading here. What do you think of the idea that BlackRock and some of these companies are the ones that are forcing companies like Target and Walmart and Kohl's to come out with this politicalized agenda?
Well, that's my problem. And that's my issue with it is I don't think the spirit behind these things is as noble as what the surface would lead you to believe.
Right. It feels put on.
So it has dark underpinnings.
There's dark underpinnings there. And yes, I've read about BlackRock and their involvement in all kind of things. Their involvement and their stake in media outlets and dictating what can be reported, what can't be reported. So
and if BlackRock would like to subsidize this podcast, they're welcome to reach out to us.
Come on.
I think, I was saying earlier before, I wouldn't be surprised if that had a portion to play in it as well. But also helping turn the tides, like you were saying, is numbers like that, where it's like if the numbers are there, where people are wanting to buy
and
items,
look,
is it at that point? It's like if you have a company like BlackRock pushing you to have an agenda. But then you're also looking at the numbers, and you're like, well, our demographic really wants us to have an agenda. So I guess
I'm third generation entrepreneur, so I'll look at numbers, I'll look at statistics, I'll look at demographics, and it just seems to me that a lot of these companies aren't catering to their demographic.
Right.
It
blows my mind
if
with some of these.
Anheuser-Busch is like the man's man, be a real man beer.
That's a blue collar. It's a blue collar drink.
Yeah.
Why would you get that Dylan character
Mulvaney or whatever
Mulvaney to do this partnership? Like, why wouldn't you get
because they hired. See, this is another thing. Is also what's going on is why are these companies hiring these kind of advertising or marketing directors that kind of have this orientation? I don't understand that. To me, there's something going on. Also,
you remember what
on that end is these people are saying, well, we can't fire them because then they'll turn around and sue us and all these things. So I think some of it is orchestrated. I do believe there's a plan behind some of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bud Light.
Look at our own administration and some of the stuff that's going on.
I mean, Bud Light, you sit there and going, why are they getting involved in this issue?
Unless
they
there
should
was
have
like
had Larry the Cable Guy drinking beer.
Right.
Not
This is to me a beer, and anybody can drink beer. It doesn't matter what you are. Why even go there?
I think it's because they're trying to. This is my assumption on the matter: is that there is how do you put this into words? The intrinsically the group that they were debuting on that can or whatever it was, I don't think they were fully intending to publicize. They were publicizing to those people as well, but I think they were also trying to get the people that support them on board. As well.
That's not a beer drinking crew.
But they're trying to convert them into maybe we could be cool too, They all have to throw out this stuff showing, look at us, we're inclusive, we're trying to make people feel comfortable and all this stuff, and it's like, stick to what you do, right?
Make your product, and it's out there. It tastes good, it's refreshing, or whatever the case may be, and believe me. Anybody that wants to buy your beer will buy your beer. You don't have to do all this stuff. Make the best
beer you can.
Right.
Don't worry about what's on the can.
Right.
Worry about what's in the can, not what's on the can.
Right. Yeah. But I'm telling you, this is not going to go away. I'm seeing it every day there's some other company, they got to make a statement or whatever to state, whatever the case may be.
Well, if I can leave us on something that I thought was interesting, I read recently, talking about when I was doing some research for this potential topic, I saw someone say that did McDonald's come up with? Have you seen the Grimace's birthday? Mm-hmm. A character they haven't used in years. They just all of a sudden decided to someone said, did McDonald's really just come up with Grimace's birthday and make it the whole month of June to get out of celebrating Pride Month? And I was like, And I love how no one said anything about it. Like the McDonald's, the big company, isn't celebrating any kind of The joke of the matter was that a big company doesn't have to take a stand, and people won't.
I don't think every company
them.
Needs to. I don't think we need to have restaurants having that in the first
No,
place.
you don't.
The restaurant should just. If you're a Mexican restaurant, you celebrate Cinco de Mayo. That's about it. The rest of it, just keep politics out of it.
Right.
And that's how it used to be.
I think with McDonald's, and I wrote about this a couple of months ago on Facebook, actually, because I was talking about the difference. Like when Jason and I grew up, people went to McDonald's to have their birthday parties.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I had a birthday party at a McDonald's.
It was, it was just different. Like everything was different. They had all the characters. You had the Hamburglar and you had Grimace and you had the Fry Guys and it was you had all these characters, and the McDonald's were family-friendly places to go to.
Right.
Parents could take the kids there. They could afford to feed their kids there. That's why they went. And then now you go into one and it's like an institution. Yeah. It's very cold.
It feels like a corporate office.
We've got this the Gen X's grew up with very favorable attitudes towards McDonald's.
Right.
Because we all have good memories about McDonald's.
Great memories with McDonald's.
It's
as
like
a kid.
Kids now, if you go into a McDonald's, they've gotten rid of the playground, they've gotten rid of the characters. It looks institutional. It looks like a prison cell almost. You have to go up to a kiosk to order food. You can't even talk to a person.
Every model I've been to,
everything is gray and brown.
Yeah, it feels like a corporate building, corporate office. Of something.
It's like when we were kids, it looked like someone was taking magic mushrooms to decorate the place.
It was a playground.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
And so it's like this new generation has no positive feelings. Like we can all still sing all the commercials Jingles, like to all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, and you could finish it off for me. Like we know all of this. This generation doesn't.
Right.
And I think that McDonald's is trying to pull the heartstrings of the last little bit of people, because now most of us that are our age aren't going to McDonald's too often
No.
because it's become unhealthy. It's not fun. It's, it doesn't tick all the boxes of what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And so I think McDonald's is losing its market share, and they're trying to hit some nostalgic buttons, but they just have failed colossally at it.
Right.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with a new set of cartoon characters. Because remember when people used to get in lineups to get the toys?
Oh, yeah.
And they used to collect, the Beanie Babies or the
Whatever, yeah.
whatever it might be. McDonald's was the #1 toy seller in the United States for many, many years. And now they can't sell toys, or they decided not to because of some FDA thing.
Yeah.
But, I think that they're trying to recapture nostalgia, but they're not going to do it with how they're doing it. I think they're going about it all wrong.
Right.
And the high, chemical grimace shake that no one knew what flavor it was.
It was berry.
And then the people pretending to drink it on TikTok and die. I don't think that gave them the message that they wanted.
No. Well, I thought that was a very great conversation. We rehashed on some things that I didn't think we were going to touch on. That was great. Is there anything else you want to say about this issue before we wrap up?
Yeah, thought it was good. We touched on a lot of things, and maybe gave some people some things to think about.
Yeah. For anybody out there, we have this nifty little new website we've been working with, and it's dot.cards/retrospect pod, and it has all of our links there, and you can see all the platforms that we're on. We also have specific links to Spotify, all that stuff like that, our YouTube channel, and also the email. And for those of you who tried to reach out to us on Facebook and can't quite put your whole comment in the comment section on Facebook, you can send us an email at getoffendedtogether@gmail.com. Also, send your well wishes to Stoney and make sure that he
will love to hear them. So
yes.
send over some messages
Right.
for him to keep up his spirits.
Exactly. But until
use the Get Offended Together email.
Right.
They would like that.
Exactly. But anyways, until next time, thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone. God bless.
Take care.